Sony? Sony strikes back? In the previous week, we had Microsoft, who, as we know, has a cash balance of about $140 billion. And they spent it. Sony said, okay, Goliath, David's got a slingshot ready to throw. Sony did a $3 billion acquisition of Bungie today. Percentage-wise, they owned them because Sony's total cash available is $5 billion. You can look at this number and you can see that they're in for an insane fight. In a world that doesn't really enforce anti-monopoly or antitrust, they're in for an insane fight. $3 billion is overpaying for Bungie. They spent more than what Microsoft had been talking to Bungie about acquiring them for just a few years ago. Microsoft spoke to Bungie about acquiring them at around a $2 billion valuation just a few years ago. Sony is paying a little bit more, $3 billion, three plus billion, to close the deal. The main thing they said was that it gives them a better access to live service games. Sony's been really good at the excellent single player, contained, one and done story-based games. That's been their bread and butter. They've crushed with that. But live service, which is where all the money is, EA had an earnings report today. Battlefield was a massive flop, $100 million less than they expected. They didn't care. They had their best quarter yet. You know why? FIFA, the same dog shit game that's been churning out for years, made more money than ever. Sony has to get better at that in this modern world. And so Bungie has become quite good at it. So that's one of the main public reasons they've said. I want to talk about the sponsor of Marketing Monday. I'm talking about Public, baby. Let me tell you a little bit about Public. Public is a company that has chosen to support Marketing Monday. I know a lot of you are interested in investing. And what I like about Public for this audience is that you can invest fractionally, which means you can literally invest any amount of money you want. You can also follow investors that you are interested in. I am on Public. You can follow my investments. And then most importantly, it has a competitor that we all know. That app makes its money by selling information about your trades to hedge funds. This app does not. It is proven. You can look it up. It has zero trading fees at all. If you want to transfer shares or anything to Public, it is 100% free. In fact, if it costs money, they will pay it. And what's really cool is if you sign up, you can get $300 up to $300 in free stock. Now, I want to say this at the end. This is not part of the ad, but I want to say it. Don't try to invest to get rich. I mean, at the end of the day, these things are tools. And if you are crazy or bad with money or like have insane risk tolerance, you can lose a lot of money on any trading app. Just invest safely. Number 2, Xbox Game Pass is a real problem. I wanted to put this in big font to make it clear. Every month that goes by, it becomes more and more obvious how smart and how deadly Xbox Game Pass is. People that use it highly recommend it. It's got a very high, what we'd call in marketing, a net promoter score, which is the likelihood of someone that uses it recommending it to a friend or family. And so Sony is scrambling right now to launch Project Spartacus, their counter. We're entering a world where being multi-platform is one thing, but being on someone's pass is a whole nother level. This is the biggest threat to Sony more than anything. Games are expensive. The world is expensive. People are loving this service. They need an answer. Sony said Bungie acquisition was not a response to Microsoft buying Activision. And this is obviously true. The easy dunk you can make on Twitter is that, yeah, man, these things don't happen in weeks, okay? What are you, an idiot? Okay, this has been working on this for months. And that is true, obviously. But it's a little disingenuous because Sony would not, this whole acquisition spree is a direct response to the larger problem of Microsoft buying up the industry. It's a response to the change of the industry. Whether Sony knew about Activision Blizzard is not the problem. They knew that Microsoft was gunning for devs. They knew that Microsoft was talking because they're in bidding wars. And a great example of this in another industry is what just happened with streaming services. I know we all think of Disney as like the big guy, but actually, if you look at what happened, Disney was a small player compared to Amazon, Google. These big tech companies have way more money, and they were coming into Hollywood and sort of buying it up. And most of the small studios are getting owned. And so Bob Iger, who was CEO of Disney, has a great interview where he said, our only path forward to competing with them was scale. And he knew they could compete if they bought a bunch of great IP. Apple could throw $1 billion to make a great show, but they can never make a Star Wars. We're seeing the same thing start to happen in games because of Microsoft. Microsoft is coming in with a $2 trillion valuation, infinite money, and they're starting to buy things up. And if you want to compete with that, you have to scale up yourself. You have to get some great IP. And Destiny is great IP. Bungie's next project could be great IP. You might have noticed in all of the announcements, everything that Bungie said, everything that Sony said, these games will stay multi-platform. We are not getting rid of multi-platform. And it's way different than how Microsoft had it. You guys remember how Microsoft bought Bethesda and was like, oh yeah, I mean, we'll check the contracts for sure. Destiny 2, as of yesterday, I got these numbers. Destiny's current play base is 42% PlayStation, 31% Xbox, 26% Steam. It is a true multi-platform game. To explain what I'm thinking here, let's talk about the concept of nuclear war. So in the world of nuclear war, there are some countries that have hundreds of thousands of warheads. United States, Russia. And there are other countries that have a fraction of that. India with 140, North Korea with just 30, Israel with 90. And yet, even if you have 10,000 warheads, you can't really go to nuclear war with somebody that has 2. All you really need is 1, and it changes the whole dynamic. In the arms race that is video gaming right now, Sony is trying to acquire a nuclear warhead, a title that if Microsoft starts pulling big games like COD to be not multi-platform, they can respond. Just to have something to make the experience worse for Xbox as a counterpoint. They have to have an answer, because if they don't, there is nothing stopping Microsoft from doing it. Now, Microsoft may still decide it's worth it, but at least having this counterbalance makes it less likely. What is the little pink one? That's Stadia. I don't even know why I included it, dude. It's kind of a bluff at the end of the day. I mean, look, Elder Scrolls, Call of Duty, all of these games are bigger than Destiny. Destiny's a big game, but these are bigger. And Microsoft may still decide to go through with it. And that is why their PR is being so open and so solid about multi-platform. Sony wants to set up the narrative that if things start going non-multi-platform, it's Microsoft's fault. Second reason, Sony bought Bungie because they are expanding outside of just games, as everyone is. Nintendo's making a Mario movie, like Riot is doing with Arcane, etc., etc. And so Sony's already made 2 movies that have video game tie-ins, Uncharted and Spider-Man. And so by this logic, almost certainly, we will have Destiny movies starring Tom Holland. Almost certainly. One final reason is, look, Sony's having a real problem with this guy. Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, has done a great job the past few years. He's made bold acquisitions. He's said the right things to gamers. He's been gamer focused. They had this question: how do we stop him? How do we beat him? How do we beat Phil Spencer? This is live footage from Sony's boardroom.
Tell me how! The heart, Osborne. First, we attack his heart.
Destiny's his favorite fucking game. So they hit him where it hurts. They can break Phil Spencer and force him to buy a PS5. They ban him from the game. Imagine they buy Bungie for $3 billion. They can stay independent. They don't even, just to ban him, just to IP ban his account. Microsoft spent a lot more money, and they have a lot more money, but they also got a lot more problems. $70 billion for Activision Blizzard is a lot of money for a company that right now fucking sucks. They have deep problems. They have people fleeing the company. Bungie is an independent, well-run, well-oiled machine that generates a ton of free cash flow, that has a growing live service game, and has an upcoming title that could be great. Sony is not Disney. They don't have the scale. Sony is not Amazon Prime. They don't have the money. Sony is HBO Max. They are focused on creating premier, high-level, high-quality entertainment and hoping that that can break through. Recently, Disney Plus, which has an insane amount of scale and insane amount of IP, launched The Book of Boba. Boba Fett, iconic character. Book of Boba, ton of money, ton of hype, great production. Around the same time as Book of Boba launched, HBO Max's new season of Euphoria launched. I don't know if you've seen discussion about Book of Boba versus Euphoria, but in terms of view count, it's a massive difference. Second thing, a better example. Let's not even talk about Book of Boba. Amazon Prime spent $1 billion, the most expensive first season of TV ever. Nobody is talking about it. Nobody. You can spend a lot of money to buy IP and to force out products. But if they end up not being good because the team behind it isn't cohesive, then you're fucked. So Sony can strike back on this front. They can be the HBO to the Amazon Prime of Microsoft. So HBO has a reputation amongst creators like directors, writers, producers for being extremely talent friendly. Sony has cultivated this reputation over the years. Developers like to work with them. They've produced some great, powerful single player story games. That's how they're striking back with less money. Will it work? It remains to be seen. At the end of the day, if you spend $5 for Game Pass and get a fucking massive library, it's hard to beat that. How is Game Pass profitable? They don't care about profit. Game Pass does not care about profit. They're not trying to be profitable, and they're not profitable. The entire time this is happening, there is a third party. Microsoft, we need to spend billions to exceed the competition. Sony, we need to spend billions to exceed the competition. Nintendo, big badoof. Nintendo has no chance at all of winning a spending war. They don't have the money. Nintendo's smaller than Sony. But Nintendo has a 20, 30-year history of developers not making games for them anyway. They know how to survive when no one makes shit for them at all. If I want to end this with anything, it's that we are literally 1 month into 2020, and there's already been more acquisitions, more dollars on acquisitions than the entire of last year. There's 11 more months of this. Everybody's getting bought in 2022. And that, my friend, is Marketing Monday.